Hello people of Earth and elsewhere, welcome back to the channel where the content is spam and I am Crackers. Today's spam is a few quick updates on the status of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4 anime Diamond is Unbreakable, along with a few preliminary first impressions based off of the previews released to us earlier this week. First of all, the mother of all good news, Crunchyroll will in fact be simulcasting the show as it premieres, just like it did with the previous 3 parts. The off-putting side to this is that the first episode is scheduled to be released next week on April 1st. I mean, they insist that there is not an April Fool's Day prank somewhere about this, and I believe them about that. Still, I can't be the only person with that nagging threat in the back of their head that if the broadcast tries to pull anything funny, the fans will riot. And I guarantee that will happen, but we probably have nothing to worry about there. Still... Okay, now for the overall impressions from the recently released previews. On March 21st, 3 different versions of the preview were aired on 3 different big screens in Japan, which were all in 3 completely different places. Of course, that doesn't really matter anymore because you can watch all of them on YouTube now, and they all have been uploaded in their complete, full-quality glory. Links to where you can watch them are below if you haven't gotten to see them yet. Basically, what we got out of it was what we could have wanted from a preview. A bit of an intro to the characters and some of the clips that I can only assume are from the first few episodes, which, if you've read the manga, it manages to portray the scenes they show beautifully, if you would allow me to say so at this point. Basically, we see a little bit of Josuke and Jotaro interaction, with some bits of Koichi cut in there, playing the narrator for the most part. There were clips from when Jotaro meets Josuke, and also, I assume, Koichi. He talks a little bit about meeting them. And then there's a bunch from the Angelo fight, feeling Aqua Necklace, and if you look enough, you can see Josuke's mother and maternal grandfather in there in a couple places too. And at the very end, we get a couple of shots of the Nijimura brothers and the Hand's Hand. But they're not so much introduced to us here as alluded to as a whole. Again, if you've read the manga, then you know exactly what's going on. There was nothing extraneous about this preview, I am happy to say, and I'm not going to analyze this thing very much further in depth because it's really just there to fuel the hype train, and I'm pretty sure that accomplishes that nicely, and that's not just me saying that. Now, as for impressions, honestly, I'm probably too excited to say more than I think this is gonna be great. From what we saw in the still images and the earlier preview, I've seen my fair share of complaints, especially about how the characters look, and especially from fans who exclusively are introduced to the anime, because David Production is definitely trying to capture Araki's constantly changing illustration style. They skipped right over the parts in the first few chapters of Part 4 where they did kind of look the same as the end of Part 3. We just went completely over that and went to how the characters look a little bit after the beginning of Part 4 and all the way to the end. It stays pretty consistent, and that was the look that they were going for. Now, what bugged me about the initial still images and the characters in the first preview have been thrown out the window because seeing all of this in motion is just too cool for me to really hold a grudge about it, except about Koichi's hair, which is now officially gray, apparently. I mean, what? Why? I seriously don't see where that came in or what it's doing there. When I start watching the whole episodes as they come out, these opinions may be subject to change because, you know, there are so many other characters we still have to see, but we'll see what happens when it happens. Now, the animation doesn't come across as above and beyond beautiful, but it is by no means subpar to the previous animations of the series, and I believe I can say that with confidence. Another couple of things that I'd like to point out as well, just a few little things, like when Josuke summons Crazy Diamond, there is some serious time being spent with the pink sparkly diamond animation that is very different from how we've seen Stan summoned in the past. I don't recall anything like that in the manga either, but it does add a nice touch, and it makes it a bit easier to relate to the name of the stand, which otherwise just seems crazy, I think. Wait, stands don't usually have to be related to their names. I mean, cream? Moving on, we've got a single aura from Star Platinum out of this, and I have to say it now, I probably won't ever adjust to Star Platinum's new look. Even in the manga, I've never liked it. That's the one big style change I really didn't like. Like Jotaro, I can live with how he looks and blah blah blah, but Star Platinum just doesn't come across as the same, and that's something I'm kind of disappointed in. That I can shut up about, however, for the sake of this show. Next we have Aqua Necklace, which looks really great, and from what we saw in the preview, I can't wait to see how some of the other stands look too, especially Red Hot Chili Peppers. That one should be a lot of fun. Stand animation is definitely something I'm looking forward to. And lastly, I'd just like to touch on the coloration we saw as a whole. I saw purple trees, and that just makes me smile because it actually looks kind of cool and doesn't seem out of place. And I think as a background detail, at least for this first bit, it adds to the setting as a part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I mean, besides Koichi's hair, there's nothing that seems particularly off-putting about the colors to me. I mean, it's bright, unlike the previous parts of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which brings out the nickname of JoJo's Bizarre Slice of Life anime, but, we'll see where that goes. And fortunately, we got a chance to see some of the color changing that is still going to be happening in this anime. I mean, it's really important thing to the animation, I think, and I didn't think that David Production was just gonna stop all the action scenes and everything suddenly changing colors, but, it's still reassuring to see that. It's also very likely that Koichi's hair will look blonde or blue during some of the fight scenes, so maybe that'll help. At least me. Oh, and as far as the music goes, which we did get a little bit of that, I'm just gonna say yes. Just yes. It's working so far. I have no gripes about the music now, and I don't think I will in the future as far as the soundtrack goes. Those are some good beats they got going on in the background, and I can just see it happening. And that about wraps it up for the first impression, guys. I hope you enjoyed the digital coloration of Chibiduang JoJo. Hi, Josuke. For anyone wondering, I do plan on making more impression videos as the series continues. However, unlike a lot of other people, I'm not going to be posting my reactions episode per episode as I watch it, because I want to be able to put a whole package out there with my reactions for the initial part, because let's face it, in the first episode they're probably not going to have the opening sequence, which is something I believe everyone wants to see, and don't even get me started on when they might put the ending sequence in. So yeah, we may have to wait as far as, I think the longest we'll have to wait for one and or both of those to happen in an episode is probably just going to be episode 3. But before I actually do my full first impressions of the anime, we're going to wait until we at least get those two things. Hopefully at that point I can draw something that's really worth watching too. Until then, I intend to practice gaming videos. If not just for practicing when I finally get around to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Eyes of Heaven, which I fully intend to stream. I still intend to do that, yes, it's a plan. But that's it for now, guys. Thanks for sticking through this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Ciao! Oh, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at SpamCrackers. Any initial reactions and video planning updates will be posted there. I have the app now, so that is a thing.